Today's podcast can be a little bit difficult to listen to or watch. We recommend that you take care if you're listening or watching this video. If you need any additional support, we have included some links to help in the show notes. So please do reach out if you need some help. Hi and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. I'm your host, Ashleigh King, and I will bring you a wealth of interesting people with fascinating ideas across the tech industries, the creative industries, and also uplifting stories of courage and hope. We all go through prickly situations in life. I believe that through courage, creativity, and curiosity, you can find inspiration to nurture your zest. That thing that gets you up and out of bed every morning, the thing that lifts you up and lights up your day. So join me in the studio and let's see who we have in the hot seat today. Hello and welcome to Nurture Your Zest. Today I have Robert Little with me, who brings a unique, fun, mischief and energy. So welcome, Rob.
Thank you. It seems different being in the opposite chair.
Yeah. Well, you're normally on the big red show with your lovely hoodie. You're in your red sofa,
yes,
your red Chesterfield, so you still have your socks off, which is fun. But you've got you're on the Nurture Your Zest green sofa today, so thanks for coming into the studio.
You're very welcome.
So how are you? What you been doing today?
I'm hungry and thirsty today because remember last time I was sitting on the sofa, I said that I would do Ramadan because it was the second hardest challenge I've ever done live on the thing. So I was like, well, I have to do it. Yeah. And it's tough.
I think it's really interesting actually. So you're not Muslim.
No.
But it's a challenge.
Yes.
And it's also, I guess, solidarity for other people. And just also just experiencing what it's like to fast, right? And not to deny yourself of something that you might normally want.
That's the hardest part, saying no. Like me morning this morning, I'm just like, you know, because there's all the things that you like, your coffees, you like the X, you like the Y, and I can't.
And I think one of the hardest things is it's not just not eating, it's the water as well. So,
water.
You know, you're a chatterbox like me,
yeah.
So bouncing around and being busy and getting thirsty is challenging. So did you do your usual sport today?
I ran today and I jumped in my barrel. It's freezing cold, barrel full of water, and that's it. I've had a little run, but not compared to normal activities, you come down.
But even going for a run, you know, on limited resources, as in you won't eat for a while, are you really hungry?
Hungry now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this year compared to last year I didn't know I was letting myself in for. I was at yoga with Poppy and she was like, I'm tired. I was like, what's my way? Because she's very fit and healthy and strong. I was like, I've never heard you say that. What's up? And she was like, I'm doing Ramadan. I was like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Because I said I was thinking about doing it and I just said I would do it. And that's what Maggie said, is anything what scares you, but you'd like to do again, what you're not sure if you want to do. And I was like, Ramadan. So she dragged it out with us and I was like, right, I'm doing it. I'm here now.
Well done. Yeah. I mean, how long you got left? It's a good while.
29 days. 28, 29.
Yeah. Wow. I think for anyone who puts himself in an uncomfortable situation, whether it's for fun, whether it's unenforced, yeah, you learn a lot about yourself in those phases.
Even like yesterday and the day before, I was like, I don't need to do it. I've done it before, you know. But this is the mental battle that I was having myself even before I sat down with Maggie because the date was coming up, and I just thought, you know what, it made us so strong, literally made us so strong mentally, physically, and so many elements to it. That's why I see it as the hardest challenge. You can't drink, you can't this, you can't that, you can't this. But take religion out aside, the benefits for yourself is phenomenal. Your energies go up, which is surprising because you haven't had any food, and your productivity goes up. Like I've done things this week, these last 2 days, what I wouldn't normally done. The back of my car got clean because you can't eat. You have to occupy the mind, you know. So
your focus
it's a lot.
Shifts.
Yeah, it really does. And then when you break fast, it's like Christmas. You've got all these beautiful treats in front of you, and you're like,
where do I start?
Where do I eat? What do I eat? And I like to go up on the West Road with people who are actually breaking fast. That's where I'll go tonight because the food and the atmosphere is just wicked. And I know them and I'm just like, I'm fasting. Like, oh, get them that. And you get the works.
So will you pray with them?
I don't really pray. I don't pray. Maybe I should, but no, I don't pray.
Not necessarily. I think you've got to go with what's right for you, right? So it's important though that you having that community and breaking your fast with people and experiencing that together. I think
this is it. This is the experience. And like last year, I got invited to go to the mosque. I was like, nah, I'm not going to go. And then I woke up on the day. I was like, yeah, you're going. When else are you going to go and experience the whole shebang of what they do? And it was a lot, but I went there and I'd done it, and it was nice, and they all treated us like I was the only white person there. It was something that I've never experienced before in my life, and I don't think most people will.
So that is something I want to ask you about. So you are a bit of an anomaly, a pattern interrupter, some might say, as in
very different and very raged.
Yeah, you are. You're your own person. You
Very
really
much so.
are, Robert. And
Thank you.
it's a beautiful thing to see somebody being themselves, I think, in a world where we have a lot of people doing the same thing in and out day to day. So I love that. And it's wonderful to watch. So, but I am curious though. So like, let's just lay it out for listeners or viewers. So you are somebody who is big energy. You're a coach. You are very fit. You do a lot of stuff. You love people. You're a born salesman. And so for you, lad from Kenton, to end up in the mosque breaking bread, like
my friends go, what? And then I get a lot of stick sometimes. Actually, twice, two people have said certain things to us.
Right.
But because of the lifestyle I've lived, I've always been around thousands of people. Picture this. When I left the bank working at Northern Rock, I become a door-to-door salesman, knocking on people's doors. I was in thousands of houses throughout the year. Like, and sometimes I'd go in and they'd be like, making us eat food. I'm like, I'm not even hungry, but it's their religion. So you learn so much because of this, all the different places I've been. And I just think people are meant, generally, it doesn't matter if they're at the bottom or the top, because I've took on the corporate world and went on a mission to do 1 million trees, which we might talk about. And it doesn't matter where you go, people are all just people. And that's why I built this program called Smash Life Challenge, because so many people die too young. And this is what stopped me drinking. This is what I built this program for, which is launched now, where people can work with me and I can make them incredible, or more incredible, shall we say. So all of the tools that I use on myself to have this life, to have a go attitude in life, is in that 6-week program, but also has the tools to stop people drinking, stop the X, stop the Y. So yes.
But I think that's important. So you're talking about, you know, you went into all these homes, you met all these people, and that's super cool.
Yeah.
So you've developed an ability to quickly build rapport and to connect with people very quickly. At the same time, you mentioned there that, you know, you've stopped alcohol at times.
661 days I've done.
You did.
First 3 days was my first challenge. 3 days without a drink. Because at the time, you think about being a salesman and traveling every city, every town out of choice. It was just a lifestyle, partying, drinking. That is the life of somebody who is their own boss. And I've always been my own boss, which has massive pluses. But, you know, if I don't want to go to work, I don't have to. So we got to travel, we got to party, and I was always just life and soul. And I used to think going out and partying was just epic, because the energy on a pub is amazing, you know? Oh, yeah, how you doing? But yeah, and then I think lockdown come, I was just like, I'm bored. I won a hamper full of drink, and I just didn't even want to drink it. I've never been a one for sitting in the house drinking. I'd like to be out socializing, and I was just like, I read my first book. It was called How to End Self-Sabotage and Become F-able. And that sort of just triggered us into the mindset, like, yeah, there's more. I started working with a coach, started thinking, well, I've never thought about things like that before, because you only know what you know. You've only been what you've been and seen what you've seen. But literally just that little switch in the mind. And then I was like, I think I'm going to do a weekend off the drink. And I looked that back a long ago, because that was a challenge. That was as hard as probably, I'm not going to say Ramadan, but it was a big challenge at the time. 3 days off the drink. I'm going to do a whole weekend with no drink. And yes, I went out on the Monday, but I'd done that whole weekend. And then I'd done 7 days, then 14. And then I realized I loved challenges, but I think it hit home when I was out in my community because I know everybody because of the life I've lived, and they're like, Robert, love your videos, keep doing it, you're smashing it. That's where the name Smash Life come from. People who live in where I live, and they're like, you're smashing it. Because I've been with these in parties and done the 3-day benders and whatever, and I know them all, so they know it's real. And then when you're helping people and inspiring them, and then they're coming up to me and saying, I don't drink anymore, and I'm like, shut up, man, you're looking well. And that's because of you. And then you're like, yeah.
But this is the thing, right? So you can have a mint time, you can go out, you can have a great night out, you can chat to people, all of that. What happens on the Wednesday after that wild weekend is like that middle of the week slump, right?
Session depression, I call it. Session depression, because, it's so hard. I have to be real. It's so hard. I used to go out on a Saturday and get smashed. But I've got lots of energy, which you can see, yeah. I mean, I turned up the Great North Run and just ran it. No training, just ran it.
You got long legs, that'll help.
Long legs. And my preparation was years and years of being able to go out on a Saturday and not sit down until a Monday. Kitchen parties, powerhouse, raves, back on the high street. Like, you could squeeze up so much in them 3 days because you didn't go to sleep and you were partying, which was amazing. I had the best times, and I will write a book about it. But the fact is, when that stops and the birds are tweeting outside or whatever, and you go to bed and you put your head on that, and that voice comes in. That's what I would class as the session depression. You shouldn't have done that. And then that only kicked in at the end. I was like, this is hard, and that's what they call it, the session depression, because your body's so low. You've put all of this drink and the X and the Y into your body, and then it just goes crash. And then that session depression, in truth, is what you'll find takes a lot of the younger ones or older ones, because they can't cope. So sometimes they do stuff like take their own lives, which is sad. And I could name a few, but I never would. But that's sometimes what that's caused by. And that was one of the driving forces for me to build the Smash Life. And certainly the biggest driving force to do 661 days, because as a challenge, I only set it for 90 days, and I couldn't actually open it up and tell people I was doing it for 90 days because I didn't think I was strong enough. I just didn't think I could. 90 days, I was like, 90 days, that's forever. Because my previous longest challenge was like 32, and that was hard. And it was coming into the party season anyway. So that was the fuel what kept us going. Like, seeing the change what I've made in people in the community as a whole.
But you've told me as well, so some of this kind of catalyst for change was actually watching your mates take their lives, die.
Just dying too young.
Yeah, carrying coffins and watching the mums and just experiencing that journey of loss in your community. And what you're doing now is kind of just telling people that there are like it's important to talk. It's important to get physical. It's important to have a morning routine. It's, sure, all these little things you've learned, all these hacks or just little steps that you've put together that have helped you. So how was it that one day you just kind of went, nah, man, there's got to be more than this? Like, what was that feeling like? You said before, you sort of just went, I've got all this beer, but I'm bored of it, man. Like, I had
created, like, as a man, you create what you want to create. I had created myself into be almost like had me own everything I wanted. And then I looked at it and I was like, I don't really want that anymore. Like salesman, X, Y, Z. But like you say, when you see, I just remember a couple of times going into certain places and looking at some people like older and going, you're hammered. You're hammering yourselves, quite literally killing yourself. That's what they say, you're killing yourself. And you can see it. You can see that their energy is low. You can see X, Y, Z. And that's not it. That was just like a bit of a wake up for me. And then doing C dips and finding different circles, because I've always been in a lot of different circles of friends. But then when you go into certain places, you're like, look at that wife there. She's walking up the steps at King Edward's Bay. Have you seen the steps at King Edward's Bay? There's a canny few of them there.
Yeah, there are.
There's a canny few of them there, right? And she's like walking up, and I'm like, she's got to be a canny age. And it just looked at us, and I was like, wow. And if I go around to my shops, most of them are flying up there on Zimmer frames, and I'm like, this is a culture thing. And it's like, if I can change it, Kushti, and could change it and I don't try to change it, who am I?
So it's almost like,
Well, I just
like
felt that
what-
when I come up there.
yeah, but it's almost like a legacy. Are you
Yes.
feeling this kind of need to build something better in your community?
Yeah, for sure. Because I've been brought up with an awesome feeling of community. My mum's a big social person. My dad's a big social person. All of our family have big networks. So when we grew up as children, there was an area down Forden, we call it Forden, and my nana, every Sunday or every Saturday or whatever day we went down, every day just about, there'd be a corner settee and they'd all have a big pot of tea and all the wives would be sitting there smoking, sorting the world out. And that was a community. You know, they had that in there. And then we had all the social clubs. I used to go to social clubs with my dad. It was just a happy place. And I think, yeah, that's a good thing to create more of.
Yeah. And I mean, communities have changed so much as well. So one of the things I know that we've talked about offline is like social clubs.
Yeah.
So people used to go to their social clubs. Some places still do. In fact, I know you do. You go to your social club. But kids had youth clubs. They had places to go. There were places to box or do stuff. And there's a lot of deprivation. What do you see? What worries you about society now?
Phones,
Right?
media,
Right.
phones.
Tell me more about that.
Time on it. Just, I think years ago, the man from Apple only let his daughter play on the phone for an hour a day. And it was something what he said. It just jumped in my mind there. Why would he only let his daughter or his grandkids only play on the phone for an hour a day? Because it's very time consuming and it takes a lot from your mind. I know when I do go to certain retreats and I'll switch my phone off for a weekend, there's magic what's created, like pure magic. You know, and sometimes I go to the caravan and I'll switch my phone off for a day. I think I'm going to go here tonight because I've got so much on. I need some space. But yeah, it worries me. It worries me the way that's going, the route that's going, because I like just to sometimes sit and talk to people.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like people are interacting with each other differently now? So you talked earlier about the wifeys around the kettle and the pot of tea. And
younger people struggle to talk. Like, honestly, it's a reality. I like, on the phone so much, I feel like when it comes to sitting talking to someone in real life, they don't know what to do because their hands are distracted and they can't actually physically look at someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if you look at social stuff now. There's loads of kids who don't know how to order things anymore or have a conversation on the phone.
In the shop.
Yeah.
I pulled up a day, someone coming, I've just give you the money. I'm not eating. I'm not coming in the shop while you get like your chips and your gravy. I was just getting yourself. I just sat there and he was like, so I sat there and I thought, well, you either go in or you don't. Yeah. I'm not eating, I'm not bored. You know what I mean? But he went in anyway. But
this is the thing. It's all this practice stuff, right? So what was school like for you, Rob?
Oh, very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I had a right frisk. I was one of the first ones that would ever say with ADHD or they wanted diagnoses. I didn't even think, I was just always told I was a naughty boy. But my teachers all loved us because I might appear that I'm naughty or whatever, but when you see us, you'll go, oh, he's a belter. And the teachers are like, oh, what's the matter now, Robert? Oh, we'll get you some biscuits and that, because I would always be out in their office. I couldn't read and write very well, which is ironic because I wrote a book now, my ADHD superpower. But I remember school had lots of different elements. It was really good in parts when we got to play out and kick the football about and I had loads of friends. I'm on with primary school because that is a fun time. And then you had other times where they'd be like, we're going to read. I can't read. And then you'd sit like this and there'd be like, say, 20 people. And then it would come round and you think, well, I'm next. And you get a bit like that. And then, yeah. So that was a tricky part, not being able to read and write very well. Because I learned different and I still do now. You know, I learn from real interaction. Like if I sat with you and you showed us something, I know it. It's cush. If I have to do something and follow all these steps, I just don't do it. It doesn't work. But I could sit with you for 5 minutes and you could show us how to like drive a truck or anything, and I'm just not a problem at all. And that's how I think I learn. My children learn. Everybody. So sitting and doing all these like you need to do, it's harder work than it needs to be.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned earlier you are self-employed. You've always been self-employed.
I don't think I've ever had a job, a normal one.
And so you've mentioned it was hard learning to read and write.
School was mint though. I had some really good times. It was, if you could imagine, I was massive, very tall, ginger hair. I don't have any hair now left.
Was it curly or straight?
No, just a proper ginger ninja. So I had many different names when I was younger. One was the ginger ninja because I used to like to always fight. Here he comes. And always boom, 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 boom. I think really if I had stuck in the boxing, I would have been a boxer. What doubt. I have so much energy, so much speed, so much like not giving up. That was one thing. That's why I was the best at sales, because like I would knock a door, again. People would start getting disheartened. I'd be like, that's cush. You know what I mean? And just keep walking, because eventually you get a yes. And also, I think when you come to door, people, well, I was having this conversation. They went, no, Robert, the only reason why they really bought from you is because you're honest. If people, when you go to rough estates, right? I was thinking about this because I was younger and I was just, they would have seen he's an honest person, because normally when you go to them rough estates, they go, just close the door on you straight away, go away, go away, go away. But me, they'd just sit and listen to us like that. Yeah. And
it's also, again, it's that chance to build rapport and kind of create connection.
And you had to go into the houses, and then I had to go into the loft and check the loft, and then I would do this and do that. And now I think, God, how did you do that? And before that, I was selling mobile phones, so I would go and photocopy people's passports and the driving license, take the bank statement, sometimes get home and go, oh, I've got that wife's passport. And I would photocopy it all in the house and then send the stuff off and get them a phone.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? The technology is good in some ways and then not so good in others, but there are lots of things that are much speedier nowadays.
For sure.
Yeah.
When we used to work away, we had to ring around and try and get a hotel.
Yeah.
Because you drive. So I would just get in the car on a Monday or Tuesday, depending on what the weekend was. And then we'd just drive down. Manchester, Leeds, Bradford, blah, blah, blah. I remember going to Gisborough because I seen on the telly Skint. I thought, that looks like a belter place to work at. Because we always give people free installation when they were on benefits, when I would do the cavity wall installation. So just in the car, just drive down, boom, start working. And then you'd think, well, what about the hotel? So everything was a last minute, but we always made it work. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being able to build rapport is a massive gift. But I see you doing that anyway with your guests on your show. I mean, you've got your own podcast now and you're smashing it.
Thank you. It's one of those, I thought about doing it and I thought about doing it. And then you think again. And then I looked at my notes and it was like, it was 2020. Maybe 23, 24. I was like, I'm definitely doing it this year. So I was at an event and you were there, and I was trying to get in the studio for a while. I sent a couple of messages and then it just all come together. Boom. And then I launched it. I recorded my first one on my birthday. Always remember the 5th of December, the day I'm born, which everybody knows because I always tell them that. And we used to have wild parties for my birthday. You could only imagine. Full weekers. So I recorded on the 5th of December and then I launched it on the 18th of December, which is my son's birthday. Shout out to Ollie. And you know what? I just done it my way, because a lot of people would probably say, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. But I was like, I'm just going to do it. And I did. And I done dealing with Christmas. And then the second one, I had a Mark Telford on, and that was it. Just a gift. I went in to get my top printed. I bumped into the lad from the gym and he was like, you should get one of the boxes on. I went, who? There's any amount? I said, is any of them what's doing like a big challenge? And she went, the lad who's doing the Guinness World Record. I went, yeah, let's get him on. And then made a phone call, had him, bump. And yeah, just synchronicity, just things when you start going in the right direction and doing the right things, more doors open. They're always going to be challenging though, you know, when you, like for me, standing in front of cameras and that, like, I'm all right now, but when I first came out, I was like, ugh, what's all these, you know?
Did you get a surprise? So that first time we recorded, did you get a surprise how you felt on that day?
Yeah, it was, but it was Christmas, and Christmas is a hard time for me.
And I think that's why that episode hit home for so many people.
Yeah.
Because how many people are talking about the realities of Christmas? And that episode, you were talking about whether you want to drink or not drink or taking time off. The people who aren't around the table or who aren't there at Christmas time. You know, all of the stuff that needs to be done, all the tasks people get lost in, as well as when you run out.
It's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be fun, but also when you don't have any money and you know you got to get your kids presents or whatever it is. Like Christmas is a really stressful time. So I'm not surprised that episode really connected with people. It was a really powerful episode, as have many of your episodes been. From my perspective, I think it's really interesting as a storyteller watching your show grow, because it has had really unique success so far. So a lot of people are tuning in, and that's just on YouTube. I mean, you also on Spotify and all the rest. And it's interesting to see the reaction you're getting. And I've been like so curious about it, because obviously my job is to produce shows, and it's great to work with you on yours. But I'm curious about what it is that people are tuning in for. And I want to hear, like, what are they telling you? Like, all these people that you're seeing.
It's absolutely lush. It is. I went out the other Saturday, and it was the first drink I had in ages. I went to my social club, and I love them all. And I was like, I'll pull up, they're like, oh, there he is, Big Red. I was like, whoa. They're all standing outside smoking, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oi, oi. And they were like, I could just feel it, you know what I mean? I could just like, oh, I love it. And you have so many chats, and they were like, go and get the t-shirt out of the car. I was like, oh, I didn't see it. So I went and got it, and I give a couple of t-shirts out to different people. There's so many different people I know from different ages all the way through, and then you get the older ones. They were like, I'm watching your TikToks, the mint, and I'm like, TikTok. I was like, you just don't know, and like they're coming up and saying thank you. The woman the other day was like, oh, I really appreciate you talking about the ADHD and X, Y, and Z, because my son has this. I get so many messages, and I'm just like, wow. I didn't even realize that many people had tuned in who you just wouldn't expect. Like the little old lady, and she's like, with my grandkids, it's really good for them with the ADHD. I've stopped drinking. Just hundreds of people. Yeah.
So it's really powerful to see the impact you're creating. And I think one of the things I've noticed is I think there's a real hunger and thirst for men to talk about real stuff. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I just like real stuff, real people, because you can feel it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's real. And there is certainly a need, yeah.
I mean, one of your episodes recently, it hasn't been released yet, but like I felt goosebumps, was just talking about drugs, actually.
Yeah.
And it was talking about people are going to do drugs, whether you like it or not. And actually, if they're going to do it, let them be safe.
Let them educate them.
Let them feel loved. Let them feel like they matter. Look at some of the challenges around drugs, not people being bad, but about some of the societal issues. And it was such a fascinating episode, hearing real stories of people who are struggling. And I think for me, it's one of my favorite episodes that we've worked on in the studio all year. It was really beautiful and unique. And I think similarly, I really enjoyed hearing about Mark's journey of, running every day for 125 days. I mean, who can say that they've done that? And just the sacrifice he talked about, having to put your body through such an enormous challenge. But this is the thing, you've got quite unique guests, right? They're all very different.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really exciting too. And I think you've got such a unique profile of people, like a community of people, as you've mentioned, from all walks of life.
Yes.
So what does it feel like for you now if you are investing your time and energy and funds and resources into creating a show? Like, does it feel like a responsibility? Does it feel like an opportunity? What does it feel like for you?
All and more.
Yeah.
It feels a lot, because I'm just one person, and all of these different things that we'll have to do, what has to be done in order for it to be done, overwhelming to the max. And sometimes I feel like saying, just goodbye.
Has it surprised you, all the steps involved?
Yes, so hard. Bear in mind, I had the easiest life when I was running a sales company. Even though I was the most successful sales company there was for door-to-door, I organised it so my life was clear. I would knock on the door, somebody would then come and do a survey, then this would happen, then that would happen, and then I would get paid. And it would be very simple. And there would, anything they tried to make it more complicated, I'd just say no. Yeah. Because I was in charge, even though they owned the company, I was in charge because I was bringing them the work. With this, it doesn't matter who you are. There's rules what you have to do things, and it's so much.
It's just a lot of steps. I think a lot of people...
Steps, rules,
new content creators, I mean, it's not as simple as just pressing record.
I thought so.
It's thinking about guests, thinking about topics, putting it online, sharing it with people. But again, you are getting an incredible traction, which is so exciting. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what's next. What I wanted to ask you about, because you talked there about responsibility, or rather, people are contacting you now, telling you about their grandkids, about their ADHD, about so-and-so's not drinking, or this bit really helped. Or those stories are great and they mean so much. And having people's feedback is so important as a content creator.
Yep.
At the same time, it's a lot to hear. It's not the hearing how people are doing. It's the, hey, where do I go for help with this thing? So if I want to stop drinking, what do I do? If I want to get an ADHD diagnosis, where do I go? It's those kind of things, isn't it? That it can take up your energy a lot, especially if you are saying you want to just turn your phone off and just go hang out in nature. So how are you finding the attention?
More a lot than normal. Yeah, I would, because I've always known everybody and I've always been super, I would say I also have a lot of friends and networks. So the online has just been times 4, 5, 6, 7. And then just trying to keep up with the engagement. But I find it a lot, to be honest. So I'm probably going to sit down and restructure my month and in terms of certain times allocated for certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my whole routine has now changed yet again. So I will look at that and I will give time to certain tasks and just have that set in stone, because you don't want to be on your phone all the time, because that just takes away you.
But also, I know we spoke about it, is like, you know, you can talk about topics, but you're not the authority sometimes. Sometimes you can be, you know, but sometimes people need to get professional help and support, and that's okay. And that's great, because the topic can really inspire them to go and get support, but it's a lot as well for you to take on. Yeah,
for sure. And that's what I say to people, look, all I can tell you is what I know, you know, so jump on my 6-week program, see how amazing you feel at the end. And I can talk to you every Friday, because on Fridays we have a Zoom and I can answer your questions, but I can't answer everyone's questions 24/7, because I built this for freedom. And if it's not freedom, I won't want to do it. So even though I'm having amazing impact on the community, and my target was to do 1 million people impact this year, because it's a big number and I like big numbers and I think it's possible. But I want it to be where I can still enjoy my life, you know, so that's why you got to put boundaries in place, or you just will create something that you don't like. I don't want to do that.
Absolutely. And also, you talk about wanting to impact 1 million people. You might be impacting so many people already that you don't even know. So you're hearing loads of anecdotal things. I went to a networking event the other day and I met some lovely gents who were talking about how they're struggling with their mental health. But they were saying, hey, you produce Rob's show. Like, we watched that show. Like, we think he's amazing. And so you didn't even know that story. But, you know, there are people who will be chatting about you and talking about the impact of these conversations, which is why, you know, when you get grown men who are brave and saying like, hey, I've tackled some of the most incredible challenges at work, massive burning fires, and one of the biggest challenges is my mental health. Like, those are real raw, difficult conversations. How do you feel at the end of the day when you've recorded those? Do you feel like knackered, excited, blissful? What's your kind of, what do you do? Do you go and like...
I normally go walk, and then I will go and eat when you get hungry. And then I'll, do you know what? Previous weeks I've had to go into overdrive and start commenting, because then on a Wednesday is when we normally launch the Big Red Show. So I leave, and because there's only really me and team members, but they don't work. They only work certain hours during the day. Then I've had to do all of the engagement to get it up there and ring people, say, yeah, watch my show, mate. You know, and so it's a lot of a day, 2 episodes, and a launch of a podcast on a Wednesday is a lot of a day. So on a Thursday, I'm like, woomph. Whenever you have a real high or you have a massive day, you want to give yourself some space the next day. So I will get up and I'll be like, right, I'm going to go and have an hour in the woods. I'm going to go and have a sauna. I'll treat myself, because I believe health is wealth. and it's one of my strongest things I say, health is wealth, because you look after yourself and then everything else becomes easier. So I will designate like half a day to myself on a Thursday. It used to be Wellness Wednesday, but there's so much on a Wednesday, I can't class it as that anymore. I take time on a Thursday, and then I'll work like a half a day on a Friday. But going back to how I used to work, I only used to work 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And I think as myself anymore, and I probably do less. So to hit it hard, have me break, which I enjoy, because if I'm having a half a day to myself and I'm in the woods or I'm doing me sea dipping or whatever, that's all gone. I'm happy. And that's what I think as men, more time in nature, honestly. Whenever I'm having one of them days which we'll have, just going, right, I'm off. And wherever that place is for you. On Sunday, I didn't have my car. I just walked out my door on the town moor. It's wicked. All the way down. Got on my way to the quayside. My mate rang us. He just had a burn. I was like, oh, well, come to the quayside with us. Boom, 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 boom. We wandered down. You know, I spent so much time with him. He'd done 20 years in jail. Just really, he went one way. I ended up working in a bank. So I don't know who got the worst sentence, because I couldn't read and write very well, but he went to jail. So I always look at like life as well. You have two paths, and sometimes you can be a little bit unlucky, and he was unlucky. But he's out now and he's just had a baby, and I was like, oh, mint. So my Sunday, give yourself a Sunday, super Sunday, because everyone's off on a Sunday. Make sure you've got like 4 hours for yourself. You know, if the kids want to come, cushy. If they don't, see you later. Leave them with the mom, or vice versa, because you need time for you, because there's only one you. And we all say the king or the queen should eat first, but it's true, because if you're not running at 100%, what are you giving to everybody else? Fill your own cup up first, I say.
So Sundays sound like a great way to get out in nature and relax.
Super Sunday.
Chills. Love it. Okay, so I have a question I need to ask you. So you always ask people, what are your top 3 ways that you smash life?
Yeah.
And I have one that I want to ask you. So what is your number 1 word to nurture your zest?
Look after you. Which sounds very simple, but sometimes the simple things are the best things. Look after you. So if something's causing you pain, move away from it. And that could be whatever that one thing is. Could be drink, could be drugs, could be a person, could be many different things. Move away from it. Look after yourself.
So, quick question. If you are just at the start of your journey, so not where you are now, you've got all those amazing lessons, but there's something causing you pain, what is the tiniest step that you think someone can do?
Minimize it. Keep away from it. So let's just say it was drink. Just say to yourself, I do drink. Over the next 90 days, I'm only going to drink 9 times. Set yourself a target. Targets are really good, very powerful, because you can aim forward and you can see them. And then when you look back, you measure them back and smile, because you've achieved that achievement. You know, like the wins, daily wins, set 3 daily wins, like 3 daily targets, which will become your wins. So in the morning, 3 things you want to do. And then they're your wins at the end of the day. But I would say gratitude's a very powerful thing as well.
Yeah.
Be thankful. That's a tricky one, because I have so many I can tell.
I know. Well, being kind to yourself.
Win the morning, love your day. Win the morning, love your day. I would say win the morning, love your day, and give yourself an hour. I call it the golden hour. When the sun's out, boom, out in nature, 1 hour for yourself. Give yourself 1 hour every day. Win the morning, win the day. Yeah, I'm sticking with that one.
That's the one.
Win
the morning, win the day. I like that one, actually. It feels
win the
really
morning.
powerful.
Sorry, win the morning, love your day. That's my saying.
Win
the morning, love your day. Oi, oi.
Well, thank you, Robert Little. Oi, oi.
Oi, oi.
Thank you so much for listening to Nurture Your Zest today. If you're feeling extra kind, it would mean so much to me if you could share this episode with your friends or family, or anyone who you think might feel inspired by this content. Liking, sharing, or interacting with our content is a great way to support us as content creators, and it helps us to bring interesting stories and more people to you. This podcast is a Flamingo Heights podcast studio production, and I've been your host, Ashleigh King. If you liked today's episode, follow the video on your screen now, or check out the link in your show notes to find similar content.